When you know that something doesn't serve you, when you know that you're feeling stuck and not growing, when you know that there are certain behaviors that just don't match your frequency, I was so afraid to do what makes me happy. I was in this long-term relationship, lovely person, but I knew that I shouldn't have been with this person, but everybody around me was like, this is the person for you. And I would push it down, and push it down. And I wasn't just doing this with my relationship. I was doing this with careers. I was doing this with friendships. The moment you stop caring so much, everything falls into place. I stopped chasing relationships, money, a specific career path, friendships, and approval from others, and it changed my life. This is the story of how I left a 20-year-long friendship, 6-year-long relationship, and randomly became a psychic. But I haven't been a psychic for that long. I was actually atheist. Bubba is here with us. He's the one snoring. This journey has taught me so much, and it changed my life for the better. So if you feel like you're going insane, if you feel like you're unhappy in your life, you're unmotivated, and you're looking for change, or you're getting more into spirituality, then just know you're not alone, you're not crazy, and this is the video for you. I felt very stuck and alone for a long time. Besides childhood trauma, and just in general, being in your early 20s, feeling lost, I always knew that school was not going to be for me. So I dropped out of college, and I got into my very first serious long-term relationship, and that relationship was very isolating. You good? He's so cute. This little old man, he's been around for all of it. I was stuck in negativity. I was stuck in controlling relationships. I was stuck seeking approval from others. And instead of making decisions for myself, I would make decisions that I think would impress people, or I would make decisions to make other people happy because I thought that's what they wanted from me. I limited myself. I was like, okay, relationships need to be this way. And I'm being told that to have a successful life, you need a successful career. So I need to do something that people find successful, right? I was told, if you want to be happy, just have money and all your problems will go away. And although that's not exactly true or false, that's up to your perspective. I have been the happiest, made the most money that I ever have, and have really found a good community, not only online, but in person. I have the best support system now. And my life did a 360, 180, whatever you want to call it. So let's get back into it, right? I was in this long-term relationship, lovely person, just not for me. But I knew that I shouldn't have been with this person, but everybody around me was like, this is the person for you. They're great. There's no reason on the book that you should not be with this person. They treat you good. They have a good career. They provide for you. Why not them, right? Even though something in me, like, I guess my soul now that I'm a psychic, I can kind of describe it better, but there was almost that feeling of there's something off, and I would push it down, and push it down. And I wasn't just doing this with my relationship. I was doing this with careers. I was doing this with friendships. Let's talk about the 20-year-long friendship. Again, lovely person, just not for me. And there were so many red flags with this connection and that I wanted to fix, but I felt like I couldn't fix it. And this isn't me blaming or victimizing myself. I definitely feel like it takes two to tango. So this isn't like, oh, like they were such bad people, they did this stuff to me. Absolutely not. It's more like when you know that something doesn't serve you, when you know that you're feeling stuck and not growing, when you know that there are certain behaviors that just don't match your frequency, right? And you stay in them anyways, and you try to hold on and make them work, and you feel like you're bending over backwards to make this relationship work, because on the outside, in the books, why would I let go of a relationship that I've had since I was a child? This person means the world to me. Why would I let them go? Why would I lose that connection? Instead, I'd rather get walked all over on. I'd rather be the bad guy and at least hold on to the semblance of a life that I thought I had, instead of doing what makes me happy. I was so afraid to do what makes me happy. So let's talk about the career now. For so long, I've done so many things. If you have looked me up online, you've seen that I used to be a realtor, customer service, marketing. I've done all sorts of things, okay? Never in a million years did I think that I would be a psychic. So my spiritual journey is going to be the biggest part of this video, and that is because I was an atheist for a long time. I grew up like Catholic Christian. My mom would always go to different churches, but I was too logical for my own good. As a kid, I was always asking questions, and I was such a smartass, and I was the oldest of 3, and my mom was a single mother, or is a single mother, right? A lot of responsibility was thrown on me, and a lot of my childhood, like, magic or nostalgia, like, it was more important for me to be present and to help my mom raise my brother and sister than it was for my mom. My mom just couldn't handle it. I don't want to blame her either. I love her. I have a really good relationship with her now, but it wasn't always like that. How do I word this? If you've ever been the oldest, right? Or if you've ever had, even if you're not the oldest, if you're the child that needs to take care of the adult things when you're a kid, any child can be put into that situation, right? Then you'll resonate with this, and you'll know that the magic of being a kid, it wears off really quickly. When you're a kid, all you want to do is grow up, so you just go with it, right? I didn't really believe in magical stuff. I always thought it was interesting. I always loved learning about it, but I was too logical for my own good. I was like, there's no data to back this up. There's no plausible way that this is even a thing. I didn't believe in angels. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in the universe. I didn't even believe in myself. So how could I even start to do anything? Well, let's fast forward a little bit. I had basically told myself that I was atheist on the outside so that my mom would not be upset with me. I'd like, yeah, of course I believe in God. Oh my gosh, yeah, right? But on the inside, I knew that that wasn't my belief, and I didn't even see a place in that for myself. Moving forward, I graduate high school. I'm doing all these jobs. I'm trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, drop out of college, get into this long-term relationship, move in with this person. And we didn't even move in with each other because we were like, oh, I love you so much. Like, I just want to be with you. Like, let's move things forward. No, that's not what happened. And my mom ended up having to leave the country. And so my partner at the time was like, hey, I know that you and your mom like live together and you're not going to be able to afford these bills on your own. Like, I'm planning to move out of my parents' house. Let's just move in together. And so we did that. And I have no regrets. There's the good, the bad, and everything in between, right? I have no regrets. It taught me so much about myself. But as soon as I moved in with this person, the cracks in our foundation, that little voice that was like, something's off here, it started to get amplified because my reality was catching up to what my intuition was trying to tell me, what my intuition was trying to avoid for me, right? It was almost like a little bell that was like, hey, this is not a good idea. Like, this is not what's good for you. And I did what I had to do to survive. I was in survival mode. My depression got really bad. My anxiety got really bad. There were things that I had suppressed as a kid that were starting to come up. And because I was living with someone so closely, they were able to tell me and point things out that I was doing subconsciously. And this really started to wake me up to the idea of going into therapy, of taking care of myself, and to not just living in survival automatic mode, right? I felt like I was living on automatic the whole time. I wasn't really consciously there. I was just trying to survive and get through the situation. And they actually are the ones who taught me about meditation. I didn't take it seriously at all at first. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Now I preach it to the skies, or to the gods. But back in the day, your girl was not into meditation, so I would put on the meditation music at night. And I didn't even think about meditation as like a spiritual thing. I always thought of it as more of a mindfulness thing. So I started out with mindfulness meditation, and I would do it at night because I was already laying down. And with meditation, you can do it laying down or sitting. If you're not going to do the crisscross applesauce kind of vibes, you can do it sitting down, or you can do it laying down as well. So that's what I would do. That was the easiest for me. Let's fast forward a little bit more. A few years into that relationship, I started distancing myself from my friends because I had a lot of party friends, and I knew that that wasn't good for me anymore. I feel like I had my phase and I phased it out. I still was escaping a lot. I used to smoke a lot of weed. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. I don't smoke anymore or drink or do anything like that. I'm sober. I'm celibate right now. We could talk all about that in a different video if you guys have questions about sobriety and being celibate and spiritual awakenings. But for the purposes of this video, that's not what my life looked like, right? I was taking care of myself. I had low-key an eating disorder because your girl was not taking care of herself, and that poured into other parts of my life. So disordered eating is something I've dealt with, and I went to therapy as a child for all of these things, right? For partying too much, for escaping, and for trying to have control with something else because I felt like I had no control outside of myself. And I cared so much about what other people thought. I cared so much about other people's feelings that I put everything of myself to the side. So now that you have a really good basis as to how my life was being deconstructed and what I had been living so far, you're going to really start to see how I started to take action, go through my first spiritual awakening, my first ego death, relinquishing control, but most importantly, how I started to break out of codependency with friends, letting go of the comfort I had built, although that comfort was not making me happy. And that's something I grew up kind of learning. Growing up, my brother and sister were much younger than me. We have a big age difference. So because they were literally children and I was at least old enough to understand what was going on, it was almost like me and my mom made sacrifices for them growing up. I took on that lesson everywhere else. Wherever I worked, wherever I had friendships or even relationships, I was the self-sacrificing queen. And whenever it got to the point that whenever I did try to stand up for myself or try to say, I don't feel this is what we should be doing, or anything against the grain or against the current, be labeled difficult right away, or I would be dismissed and I would feel not heard or not seen. And that really hurt me. As I was in this relationship that was very isolating, I was escaping. This person was the group of friends that I was with, right? You are your friends. You're like the medium of all your friends, right? That saying is super, like, it's real. It's the truth. But I didn't understand. I was like, I don't really care if I'm this person. It really took all of that for me to start saying, okay, I'm in this relationship. I'm going to use this as an excuse to cut everything off that I don't want in my life. And I really tried to stay consistent with it, but it was up and down for a long time. I was not consistent. I was very hot and cold. When I would get into something, I'd be very passionate about it. And then when I wasn't into something, I would be completely cold, like hard wall, big boundaries. It was high thick walls. You could not get through to me. Very stubborn person. The first thing that had to go for me was, one, I started doing therapy. 2020, I'm still living with my ex, and we are planning on whether we're going to stay in our lease or if we're going to move out. We end up moving to a different city, about 6 hours away from where I was. Purely for monetary reasons, I would like to say. It was just cheaper to do that, and we needed a bigger space. We had Bubba. He also has a dog, so we were like, we were living in an apartment, and we outgrew the space, and we wanted to save money so that we could eventually settle down, start a family, buy a house, blah, 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 all the things that you want, right? We ended up doing it. During the pandemic, we did virtual house tours. We got everything together in a big truck and we drove it up. I was working in a job that I did not enjoy, but we ended up going remote, and that kind of helped me calm down for a little bit. I was like, okay, well, even though I don't really enjoy this job, at least I don't have to be in a toxic office environment anymore. I can at least do it from home. And that kind of made me stay in that job, even though I knew it wasn't for me. And a year into therapy, I start having very vivid dreams and very vivid meditation experiences. And I was still very unhappy. I said, wow, I disconnected from the friends that I thought were not good for me. I disconnected from my family dynamics that really weren't the best at that time, right? I ran away from my career. At that point, I had switched jobs. I had already become a realtor. So a year after I moved, I quit the other job, became a realtor. And being a realtor, was fine. It just wasn't something I wanted to do forever. Mind you, I have a chronic health condition that I had been ignoring this whole time. Since I graduated high school, I gave up on the healthcare system because I felt like it was failing me. It felt like I was going in circles. It felt like I had run out of options. So I just ignored it. And I didn't take care of myself. I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh my goodness. But hey, it is what it is, right? If you have a chronic health condition and you live in the US and you understand how difficult the system can be. So anyways, that's not the point. So I had all these things bubbling under the surface. Therapy was waking me up. Therapy literally was waking me up. And then I started journaling again. I used to journal when I was a kid all the time. When I was a kid, I used to have crazy vivid dreams. I would get deja vu all the time, and I had a very vivid imagination. And I was like, wow, I really miss writing at night. I really miss having a drawing journal. So as part of my therapy, my therapist was like, yeah, you should do, art every single night, one piece of art every single night, and then draw write a little journal prompt. So that's really what started getting me into spirituality. So how the hell did I become a psychic and a tarot card reader? Because although my mom was a tarot card reader at one point in her life, and she always was open about that with us, and I actually had a really good friend that I'm still friends with who became a tarot card reader. She doesn't do it anymore, but she was my little intro into it. Many years before I was even in this relationship or moved or anything. I end up, and this is gonna sound bonkers, but I end up having these meditations where I felt like there was a greater purpose in my life. For once in my life, I really could not, it's almost like my body was rejecting things that I knew weren't aligned for me. In a way, my reality was ejecting me. If you've ever tried to transform your life and you started healing, doing the healing work, true healing work, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if that is resonating, let me know in the comments. Let me know. I want to hear your experiences. I want to share in these experiences. So without making this video too long, right? Let's kind of get to the point. So I'm in there doing my therapy, reconnecting with my gifts. I start getting... So that was my clairvoyance kind of awakening, right? I started getting back into my clairvoyance. Then clairaudience. So clairvoyance is seeing images, visions, right? My meditation started getting really intense. I started seeing people's auras, and I started really having those vivid dreams. And I was like, you know what? This is crazy. I started getting clairaudience. That really freaked me out. I'm still battling with it. So maybe I'll do another video on the reawakening of spiritual gifts because I'm still battling with it. It's still kind of bonkers for me, okay? I'm still very logical and this is all very new to me, right? So this was 2020 to 2021. 2022 rolls around, and for whatever reason, all the cracks in the foundations of the relationship I had built, I couldn't ignore them anymore. I needed change. I needed something new, and with that person, it just wasn't working anymore. They're so kind, they're so sweet. We were both heartbroken, okay? I thought this person was the one I was going to have kids with and get married with, but they had other plans, and that's okay. Our plans didn't align, and when I realized that this wasn't working with them and I no longer felt the way I used to, I told them that we needed to end things. And The breakup took months to kind of finalize, but I wanted to do this before we renewed our lease, right? So we're in 2022. Okay, you guys, this is like, I would like to say the beginning of 2022. So beginning of 2022, I start journaling again. My spiritual gifts are awakening and progressing, and I am cutting off things that I no longer serve. I'm breaking things off, or I'm starting to realize that I need to break things off with my ex. I really thought I was going to stay in that city because I had made friends in other places, right? Or I had made friends in that city, and I really wanted to continue doing real estate. I don't know why. I guess I was unpacking. I was like, one thing at a time. Let me not ruin my whole life at once, okay? Let me do this one thing at a time. And I think what actually broke first in my reality was the realization that I didn't want to do real estate, okay? But I did find really good ways to make money through it, so it was hard to let it go. And then I realized that money doesn't really make me happy because I was still miserable. So those two things were breaking down immensely. As all this was happening, randomly, so random, because again, I'm not a tarot, like I wasn't into tarot like that. If any, I was like journaling and doing my little art and therapy, but my social media account was like dogs and food and like real estate stuff, because that's all I would really look up. Randomly on YouTube, I get a video on my suggested, and it's a pick a card, and I was like, ooh, that sounds like fun. Let's do this pick a card. That sounds like so much fun, right? Because I knew what it was. I had friends that would do it, and I always loved getting my cards read in the past, you know, as a teenager, because I just thought it was fun. I never thought it was a serious thing. I'm like, this is so much fun, right? Tell me why this was a soulmate reading. And I'm going to talk about my soulmate because I met them when I was going through this transition. They were literally the catalyst to a lot of my spiritual awakening. Outside of me wanting to heal trauma and wanting to heal my relationships, and especially my relationship with my career and myself, they really took me out of that. They were like, it's good that you're focusing and like changing and all this stuff, but there's something better and someone better for you out there. So that really changed everything for me. And I was like, you know what? I don't really believe this reading, even though it hits. Even though it hits and it resonates. Some of the stuff that they were saying about my soulmate, I'm like, I would never do that. I would never do that. That doesn't sound like the right situation or person for me, but that would be so intriguing. Like, who cares? What a fun reading. I started getting other readings recommended, similar topics like, who's your soulmate? What's next in life? Who are your spirit guides? Oh, I used to love the spirit guide pick a cards. I might do one on this channel, like who are your angels and things like that. And then I get into angels, right? Let's talk about the angels. I start getting into angelology. And I start working with angels. I'm like, this sounds like fun. Let me just start asking angels for stuff, because why not? And through therapy, I learned that it was important to have faith, even if it was within myself. So this is me opening up. Now that I'm kind of more in the tarot space, at this point of the story, right, I'm getting recommended more witchy things because I had clicked on that one video, and you know, when you click on one thing, it goes off. The algorithm is like, you like this, let me feed it to you. Let me spoon feed it to you. You guys, this is where it really gets cuckoo, because I started getting into manifesting. Let me actually finish off the thought about the love readings. I didn't really do a lot of those because I had like a few days where I did a lot, right? I did so many in a few days, and they were all the same reading. They were all telling me the same thing. And I was like, how is it that videos from 3 years ago from different people are all predicting the same thing? So I kind of left that to the side. I was like, that's kind of scary. Let me not do that. But at this time, being delusional online and on TikTok was like a big thing. The Delulu, manifesting, right? We're like in the middle of 2022 at this point. And I start journaling and connecting with my angels, and that is when things really started picking up for me. And I started to realize, you know what, maybe I should give tarot a try, not for myself or not for the world, but for myself. Like, I need a tarot card deck. So my ex, because I was still with them at the time, bought me my first tarot card deck. fast forwarding that relationship, I end up moving back home with my mom. Well, some things happened in between that, but we're not going to get too deep into it because it doesn't even matter, honestly. It was like a blimp in my life, and I end up cutting away that friend that I had for a long time. A lot of things happened, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to cut things off right here. I'm just going to move on because it's just not worth my time anymore. Same thing with my ex. I'm like, I just need to cut this off because I already made my choice. So I have to honor my choices and my desires. Right? Once I cut off those two people, the weight that was lifted off my shoulders, the way that I would just wake up and not feel like this anxiety that I lived with, because I felt like I needed to be a certain version of myself to be around them, or they wanted me to perform. And not that they wanted me to perform, but they were used to me performing in front of them and being likable and catering to them and being a certain version of myself that I no longer resonated with, right? So that was really important. And this is where things really started getting crazy. When I moved back to my hometown, I was trying to see if I could still do the real estate thing, but things weren't working out for me the way that they were in the other town. But I couldn't go back because I had no car and I had no money at that time. A lot of things had happened where I lost the money that I was making. Obviously, once I moved back, I lost that source of income because real estate is very much, it's a very local kind of business to have. So I had to start from zero where I was. In the meantime, I did odd jobs. Your girl was not going to starve. I did odd jobs to help around the house and to feed myself. I was on government help. And I don't know if you remember, that chronic health condition came back up and it hit me in the face. And I had to go to the hospital. This was November 2022. So at this point, I had moved back, broken up with my ex, lost my friends that I knew since I was like 4 years old. Reconnected with my family, connected with a soulmate ? I feel like that deserves its own video, honestly, because that journey is just crazy. But I literally manifested the changes I wanted, but I was in the transitionary period. My health and my career were at the forefront at this point. So I didn't really even care about the soulmate situation at the end of the day because I was so focused on getting my money and my health back on track because those things were screaming at me. They needed my attention. I was focusing on balancing out my life. And because my family was right in front of me, I also was focusing on reconnecting with them. And, I apologized to them for leaving and for not communicating and for isolating myself from them. And I thank them, and I still thank them to this day for taking me back in and for being there for me. And now they're my greatest support system. They're literally my best friends. Everything happens for a reason. At this point, I still was not a tarot card reader. I still did not believe in really anything. But I was starting to believe. And remember I told you my ex had bought me that little deck. So to make money on the side, my mom started inviting friends over for me to read their cards because I was sick from the medication I was taking and I didn't have a lot of energy. So I had to quit my job that I had gotten. That job sucked anyways. It was a toxic work environment. So I had to do it anyways. I think because it was such a stressful environment, it ended up flaring up my health issues even more. But that's neither here nor there. And then I started really doing tarot. It started off with just charging $20 to my mom's friends, and they would come over and I'd do their little tarot cards. And people were like, wow, this is really accurate. This really resonates. And I started getting downloads as I was doing the tarot card readings of stuff that I wouldn't even know about. Okay. Because these weren't my friends. These were my mom's friends. Remember, I had isolated myself. So I barely even knew these people. I didn't have them in my life for a long, long time. And things were coming up that I would just know, and they'd be like, how do you know that? Or why are you bringing that up? I didn't even want to talk about that, but now I have to. And I was like, man, I actually really enjoy doing these tarot readings and I'm pretty good at it. So then I started buying books about tarot card readings and I started really getting into my spirituality. And then the tarot card readings online started to really ramp up for me. And they did serve, now I don't really watch tarot card readings unless it's for like market research, right? Because I'm a tarot card reader in this space. So I got to keep up with the trends and stuff. But that's a different thing. How I grew my account. Oh, that's the other thing. I started a tarot account because my mom was like, hey, you make really good like real estate videos. Like you should make videos on tarot card readings and try to get clients that way. And I was like, Mom, you're a freaking genius. Of course. What am I doing? I'm home all day anyways. I might as well do something. So that's how I started my SoledadTarot TikTok account. It started in November of 2022, and it started blowing up a few months later in February of 2023. And that's when things really started evolving for me. So yeah, I've only been a psychic for about a year and a half, maybe, if that. It really just fell into my lap. It just happened. I never considered myself a psychic until I started learning into it. I'm like, oh, we're all psychic. Everyone has psychic gifts, right? And I started, now I'm more of an agnostic. I believe there's something out there, but I don't resonate with like one specific religion. I believe in all of them. I don't know. I just can't choose one. But I do believe that there's a God. I believe that there's energetic, influences in the universe, unforeseen forces. And I definitely believe in the tarot. I definitely believe in my powers. I've had way too many crazy experiences for this to not be what it is. And I've been able to manifest like crazy once I started healing and awakening. Like, I'm almost at 100,000 followers on TikTok. I make way more money now than I used to or have ever made in my life. I have employees. I hire people to help me run this. Even this video is getting edited by somebody, and even his life has changed. Right, Bubbies? He's sleeping. He's a sleeping old man. But that's my story, you guys. So yeah, when you stop caring, everything falls into place. When you start following your intuition, when you stop accepting the things that you know you don't want, the things that aren't serving you, the people who aren't serving you, you make room for the new things that are actually good for you. Now my health is back on track. My bank account is amazing. My relationship with my family is great. Since I moved back home, I've reconnected with friends that actually I really, really connect with and have my best interests at heart, and I can truthfully trust. My love life is MIA right now. But you know what? It's okay. It's a work in progress. I'm glad that I've built a really good foundation for myself, and I know I'm making room so that when the rest of my manifestations are ready to come in, I'm going to be prepared for them. Subscribe if you enjoyed this and share your stories down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.